Time is running out. The final few days of the transfer window are going to be hectic. So many deals still to be done. Welcome to Good Morning Transfers. Here's what's coming up.
Gareth Bale's move to China is off. So what now for the Real Madrid star?
Arsenal agree a fee to sign winger Nicolas Pepe from Lille, but how can they afford him?
Liverpool fans, are you worried? Beaten by Napoli, does your club need to get moving in the market with 10 days to go?
And what do they call it? Monday motivation, right? Well, Everton fans, here's some for you. A bid for Zaha, interest in Mose Ken. But can you close with 10 days to go?
And don't forget the Transfer Talk podcast available to download right now, iTunes, Spreaker and the Sky Sports website. Right, it has been a busy weekend at Arsenal. We understand they've agreed a £72 million deal, that fee according to Sky in Italy, for the Lille winger Nicolas Pepe. Right, Dave, tell us about this deal.
Yes, so the Lille winger Nicolas Pepe is due back from his holiday today, and his club expects him, therefore, to then make a decision on his future. He has been away at the African Cup of Nations and now he's due back. Arsenal and Napoli both have agreements in place with Lille for a deal, as you say, that could be worth around £72 million. Arsenal are confident of getting this one done, and the terms they have offered to Nicolas Pepe are thought to be superior to the offer from Napoli. There was a slight twist over the weekend. We were told that Paris Saint-Germain might decide to come in with a last-minute approach, but we are told that Arsenal are the front-runners alongside Napoli for this deal. We await to find out the player's personal choice.
Yeah, Anton, tell us a little bit more about Pepe then, for people that don't know.
He is an analyst's dream over the last few seasons, especially last season. He kind of exploded at Lille. I mean, remember, this is a winger, but I just want to bring you sort of how good he was and how influential he was for Lille. 37 starts, 38 games in total in Liga last season, 22 goals and 11 assists. That's 151 goals 150 minutes per goal. I mean, that's staggering in itself. Let's put this into context. Only 2 players scored more than 20 goals and got 10-plus assists in their league last season in the top 5 leagues. One was him, the other one was Lionel Messi. So, I mean, that's something that's going to excite Arsenal fans. But, look, I mean, it's his development as well. He's gone from 3 goals and 1 assist at Angers to his first season at Lille, having 4 assists and 13 goals, and now to this. So they're not just signing a player that's producing, they're signing a player that's growing. And I think that's really important. A 24-year-old, they're not signing a kid. They're signing someone that's still developing, and they're betting on he's going to get better and better. So I think it's really interesting as well. And look at the teams he scored against as well. He scored against Paris Saint-Germain home and away. He scored 3 times against Marseille. He scored against Nice, against Lyon. We're not talking about a flat-track bully that can take it out in the teams at the bottom of the league. He was performing in the big games, and I think that'll really excite Arsenal fans.
JD, is this what Arsenal needs? I mean, exciting, Anton says, but everybody gets involved. Hashtag Transfer Talk on Twitter, and Arsenal fans keep saying, but why aren't we signing a centre-back? Is this actually where Arsenal should be prioritising?
Focus on one thing at a time. And one thing I can turn around and say to you is a left-footed, pacey winger who has productivity at the end of it is what Arsenal need. They need to add more firepower because creatively, they weren't at their best last year. They probably weren't producing as many opportunities for their front two as they would have liked. Now you have a player who can turn on his own dime, who can turn around and dribble at the defenders at his own will, who can create space for himself. That is very different to any type of attacking midfielder they have within their squad at this moment in time. And what's most interesting, well, Anton's stats, is the goals. 22 goals from the left or right wing. I mean, that is not really heard of. I mean, the only player that scored more goals than him last year was Kylian Mbappe. So that shows you the level of productivity that he's producing at. And that is exactly what Arsenal needs.
All right, well, another question we keep getting asked is, if this is 72 million, as we're told by Sky in Italy, Alice, how can Arsenal afford him? Because we've been told they're on a tight budget. So, but you've been looking into this.
Yeah, we have. We have been told they're on a tight budget. But recently, Unai Emery came out and he said that Arsenal are targeting very big, very expensive signings. But we know that they're supposedly on a budget of £45 million because obviously they didn't make it to the Champions League. But how are they? Well, they're being pretty savvy with their spending. Obviously, they've agreed £72 million for Pepe. We also believe they're still confident in signing Kieran Tierney from Celtic. So that's one we're keeping an eye on as well. They've got Ceballos, but he's on loan, isn't he? So that's fairly savvy in that respect as well. And they've also signed William Saliba as well. That was for £27 million. But we understand with the way that was paid, some of it would have been up front, some of it will be next summer as well. So they've got round it in a way with that as well. And you don't obviously need to be a rocket scientist to work out that they're probably going to have spent more than £45 million this summer. And obviously Kaveh Solokol, he recently said he thinks that they're probably not making it up, but there might be some kind of leeway in, obviously it's attracting the players that they want to attract. For them to be able to say to the clubs they've only got £45 million to spend, it obviously plays into their favour. But they're one of the biggest clubs in the world, so how much of this is a smokescreen, we don't really know. But I think with the Ceballos loan, and obviously with the fact that with Saliba they can pay some of that in next summer, obviously does play into that as well. But will they have money for a defender? We talked about that potentially.
Well, I was just going to say, just picking up on what Alice is saying there, they've had a decision. We all know they were interested in Wilfried Zaha, right? But we all know that deal was going to be expensive and Palace wanted the most of the money up front. So what they've done is gone, right, what is our plan B? Well, our plan B is a guy that's 2 years younger, a guy that is developing, a guy that has more dribbles per game than Wilfried Zaha, is fouled more and dispossessed less. And okay, different league and a different type of player, but a direct threat. And they've gone, right, for our budget, what can we afford? Should we spend all our money on Wilfried Zaha, or should we go out, get Pepe on a structured deal and potentially bring in Kieran Tierney as well? I think that's what Arsenal are doing.
Just give them their moment. Just give Arsenal their moment.
I'm happy.
You know what it's like on Monday as a football fan? You're waiting to see all the transfer news that's happened over the weekend. You go into maybe work or you're talking to your friends. Just give them their moment. Right now, they're linked with one of the hottest prospect wingers in the world. And the advanced talks are good signs for Arsenal. So give them their moment to shine.
Yeah, there's a couple of tweets come in here. This one's from Griffiths, who says, surely Nicolas Pepe has to go to Arsenal over Napoli and PSG, surely. And there's another one here from JT, who says, why are Arsenal not snapping up Gary Cahill on a free transfer for a season? Seems a no-brainer. Also, if we get Tierney, will Kolasinac be moved into centre-back? Well, in fairness, that Cahill one, a lot of people have been asking that question about Gary Cahill, but Kolasinac, not so much. I would imagine that Tierney would be competition for Kolasinac. But let's talk about Tierney then, because this is the latest, all right? It's going on, this one, but Arsenal are confident that they are going to get him, but still no third official bid. But talk suggests that all parties will be satisfied when that third bid is submitted. All right, so going back to that, JD, I think throughout the whole transfer window, what we've all agreed on is that Kieran Tierney is an excellent player. But what has been said is that's also an area where Arsenal seem to be well stocked in left-backs, because there's Monreal and Kolasinac.
I think you have to, first of all, address Arsenal squad. Kolasinac has proven that he's very good going forward, but probably hasn't had the best defensive positioning, probably stats of his career so far. There's been lapses in concentration, there's been individual errors as well. In terms of Monreal, he's probably come into the latter part of his career, and they would look at someone like Kieran Tierney and say, that could be your position for the next 10 years. Even fighting out with Kolasinac, because Arsenal want to compete on all fronts. The European competitions, the cup competitions. They'll need more than one quality left-back, and that's just how it is. But the problem is, Celtic hold all the cards. Celtic have Kieran Tierney on a long-term contract. They're in no pressure to turn around and sell because he's a homegrown boy. He loves the club where he's at. Of course, the attraction of Arsenal will be a prospect, but at the same time, there's no pressure to sell.
OK, time now for State of Play with Dave.
We understand Gareth Bale's proposed move to Jiangsu Suning has fallen through. He will not be moving there before the Chinese window closes on Wednesday. Everton are in talks to sign Juventus striker Moise Kean. The Serie A club are looking for £36 million for the 19-year-old and also want a buyback clause in any deal. Niko Kovac says he is confident Bayern Munich will sign Manchester City winger Leroy Sané. Everton midfielder Idrissa Gueye is in Paris ahead of a move to PSG. The Senegalese international is expected to have a medical in the next couple of days. West Ham striker Jordan Hugill has joined QPR on a season-long loan, and Aberdeen have rejected 2 offers over the weekend for the Scotland central defender Scott McKenna, one from QPR and one from Nottingham Forest. Both offers are believed to have been around £3 million.
Well, let's go on to Everton now, look, because Dave was talking a bit about them there. They're continuing to look to strengthen. We told you last week about their interest in Wilfried Zaha. We now understand that a £55 million bid for the Crystal Palace forward has gone in the last few days. But this offer is cash only and doesn't include the possibility of any Everton players moving in the opposite direction, which originally there was talk of that happening. All right, now, Anton, with Arsenal now looking for Pepe, is this now a clear run for Everton?
It appears to be, doesn't it? It appears that all the clubs competing in Europe this season have looked at Wilfried Zaha, looked at the valuation of Palace are putting on, looked at the way that Palace want the deal to be done, it's in the financial payments they want most of it up front, and gone, I think we can get better value for money elsewhere. Everton, however, will obviously, as we've said on the programme, looking to burst into the top 6, looking to make a statement, looking to, develop as a club and move into their new stadium in exciting times. And they see Wilfried Zaha potentially as a poster boy for that movement, and they're backing themselves to go out and get it. Yes, £55 million is less than Crystal Palace's £80 million valuation, but clearly that's just the starting point for talks. So I'm really intrigued to see where this one goes.
Well, it is quite interesting because we did talk about a bidding war, didn't we, potentially, which would be great for Crystal Palace. But if it is just Everton in, Alice, that certainly weakens their hand, I suppose, in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think that with Everton, with the signings that they have made so far, it's looking like they're going to be targeting at least a top 6 finish. You've got to be thinking next season. I think what Marco Silva's achieved since he's joined has been incredible as it is. And I think it's a huge statement of intent. And for them to have come in for Zaha when no one had really we haven't really been hearing much about it until this has sort of been coming up into the air. So I think, yeah, they're really kind of showing a statement of intent. And
yeah, it would be exactly that, wouldn't it, David? A statement of intent, because if you are trying to break into that top 6, which we know Everton are, we know they're a big enough club to do that, signing Wilfried Zaha when he's been wanted by clubs already in Europe would be exactly what Alice has just said.
Well, that's the thing. With the greatest of respect to Everton, they're not in the same transfer market as those top 6 clubs. So what better way to move themselves further towards a top 6 finish than to get arguably the best player outside of that top 6. He will no doubt improve that Everton side. And it's about developing, as Anton said. It's exciting times for Everton fans at the moment. They're developing all the time. They've got the new stadium on the horizon. And they'll be hoping anyway that as time progresses, they will be able to move into the same transfer market as a Manchester City or Manchester United.
The interesting thing with Zaha is we were talking about Pepe coming back from international duty this week. So Zaha will be coming back from international duty this week as well. And he's got a question. He'll obviously go back to pre-season with Crystal Palace, but, he's going to have a conversation with Roy Hodgson and the board there and say, right, what are we doing here? Where do we go from here? This week's going to be pivotal. And the next few days are going to be pivotal for Wilfried Zaha and where he goes.
I think it does make it slightly easier, possibly, for Crystal Palace to dig their heels in over money, because we all know there's a really good feeling of will towards Wilfried Zaha at Crystal Palace, not just from the fans, but also the hierarchy within the club as well. They want Wilfried Zaha to go and play at the highest level. They want him to go and play Champions League football. Now, we've discussed already on the show that obviously Everton aren't in Europe. So if Everton don't stump up the money, it feels like it would be easier then for Crystal Palace to turn around and say no and to try and keep Wilfried Zaha in this window. And we know that they've obviously lost Aaron Wan-Bissaka in this window, and they really don't want to lose both. But if it came to the crunch and Arsenal were back in, or a club in the Champions League around Europe were back in, it would be harder to keep him, I think.
It's that ploy you turn around and talk about, that verbal agreement they've made in terms of European clubs or Champions League clubs that we've heard so much as well. Does that determine whether or not they are more reluctant or accepting to sell Wilfried Zaha to an Everton? I mean, you have to look at Palace. Palace would have their own ambitions, and I know they probably were below their own expectations last year in terms of where they want to go forward within this league, but if they turn around and let Wilf Zaha go to somebody who's not in Europe's elite competitions at this moment in time, then what does that say about their own ambitions within the club?
Well, it shows they want as much money as possible.
And also,
it's all very well having this lovely sort of cuddly sort of relationship between the two. We want what's best for you and we want what's best for you. But the fact of the matter is, if Wilfried Zaha wants to leave, he'll turn around and say, I want to leave.
Yeah, but and the impact that he has.
No, I completely agree. Palace have got a really, really, really difficult decision, because without Wilfried Zaha, the chances are they're going to struggle more. It's just how we all know how important Wilfried Zaha has been to over the last 2 seasons. But that sort of weird sort of thing where it's like, oh, we'll only let you go only for the good of you, if you want to go where you want to go to. Well, it doesn't really work like that. The fact of the matter is, if someone meets your evaluation, you're going to sell him, and that's how it's going to work.
Let's go back to Everton, because Moise Kean as well. Tell us more about this deal, Anton, but also, is it Moise Kean or Zaha, or is it both?
that depends on Everton's budget, to be brutally honest, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's... The thing is, Moise Kean is one of the players that Juventus have made available this summer, effectively, and they've had their sporting director over in the UK and talking to Premier League clubs about various players that they're looking to offload. He's one of them. They want £36 million of him, and they want a buyback clause, which is what a lot of sort of, it's kind of the Spanish model, isn't it? We've seen Barcelona, Real Madrid do it over the years. We've seen Manchester City do it. We saw Angelino come back this summer as well. So Juve have kind of learnt from that. They learnt from when they lost Kingsley Coman, and they've gone, right, no, we want a buyback clause because this lad's only 19, gets regular first-team football. We might want him back. The thing is, we all know Everton want a striker. We know the Everton fans getting in touch with us saying, please sign a striker. He's an exciting player. You know, he's gone out on loan. He did really well at Verona. He scored basically a goal every other game when he played in Serie A last season. That's exciting. The fee kind of doesn't seem too ridiculous. But again, you've got to think, Everton haven't got bottomless pockets. And it'd be really interesting to see. So this Zaha deal is going to be complicated and probably moves Richarlison into the middle. So they've got to look for another striker in case they don't get him. And this one makes complete sense from their point of view. But the buyback clause is, I think, going to be the issue.
And Everton are looking to offload players as well. They've got a number of players that they're potentially looking to try and see a way out of the club. You're looking at James McCarthy, Mo Besic, Yannick Bolasie, Oumar Niasse. If they get a striker in, Cenk Tosun as well. So, or if they manage, it's difficult to move players on, but if they manage to get 3 of those out, it would bring in some money to help them.
It's such a prospect, though. It is such a prospect. To bring in Moise Kean, he's scored at international level, he's scored at Serie A. I mean, I'm always one for character, and I just love, personally, how he kind of looked at all that controversy that was around him when he was facing the racial abuse, and you kind of saw a man kind of coming out there in terms of standing up for his own rights. And for me, looking at the history of Everton's club, that is the type of striker that they'll kind of get behind. I look at the historic strikers they've had, and that's the type of person that they need in their team.